What is up, everybody? Welcome back to Team Fish Nichols' YouTube channel. Now, before we get into Dylan Dreyer's interview, this is the Decklist that he used to get top 8 at Virginia State. And as you see, it is his almighty trusty Donphan Hallelujah deck. Dylan has been playing this deck for a really long time. He kind of stopped for some reason to start playing Evital, but he eventually switched back to the Donphan Hallelujah deck. But as you see, it's just a consistent 4-4 Donphan, 4 Hallelujah, 1 Dedini for Evital, 1 Mr. Mind for like landing, stuff like that. Ask about the one repeat ball. Does he want more than that? Are the silent labs helpful or not? And besides that, it's just a standard like assistant, like 3 Bolris, 4 Karina, 4 N, 4 Sycamore, 1 trump card, so you keep recycling stuff. But hopefully you joined the interview, and thanks for watching. What is up, everybody? Welcome back to Team Fish Nichols' YouTube channel. Today we're doing another States question answer video with Dylan. And Dylan, where are you from?
I'm from Baltimore, Maryland.
Okay, and what states did you play at last weekend?
Played in Virginia States.
Okay, so how'd you end up doing a Swiss?
In Swiss, I was 6-0-1. I started off 6-0 and tied my last round just so I could go eat before top. But they weren't going to give us a break, I don't think, so I wanted to make sure I could have something to eat first.
Yeah. So, what were the decks that you played against?
I was playing Donphan. In the first round, I got paired with a Bronzong. At first, I was kind of worried. He opens Ada Slash, and I'm like, oh, Lord, no strong energies. I'm going to be having weak damage output, of course.
Yeah.
And then I Karina, and I remember I included Silent Lab in my list. I'm like, oh, okay, I have really nothing to worry about. So I ended up beating him pretty easily.
Okay.
Round 2, I'm paired with a Night March. And Night March is generally a pretty good matchup for my deck, unless they're running Empoleon. If they get an Empoleon out, I have to 2-shot them, and they get 1-shots on my Donphans naturally if they can string together some Lysanders. But this opponent wasn't playing Empoleon, so I 2-0'd him pretty easily.
Okay.
Round 3 was against a quad Mega Manetric deck. And I'm not sure if there's even a better matchup for Donphan maybe in the game. Because, Donphan with strong energies and Silver Bangle and a Fighting Stadium 1-shots on Mega Manetric. Okay. And he was literally just playing 4 Mega Manetrics, 4 Manetrics in his deck. So he had no way of one-shotting a Donphan. So once I set up a Donphan with the right cards to one-shot him, he had no way to deal with it, so I ran through him pretty easily.
Okay.
Round 4 was against Christian Ortiz, who would end up winning the tournament. He was Night March, but he included Empoleon. So we had a close match, but I ended up beating him 2-1. Round 5 was against Michael Primewatts VG. I went into this thinking, okay, I'm going to have an easy time here with Silent Lab. But Silent Lab actually wasn't as useful as I anticipated. In fact, I'm not even sure I'd include it in the list if I were to play the deck again.
Okay.
Oftentimes, I'd rather have a Fighting Stadium in play against the deck, because there were situations I got into where I'd have a Silent Lab in play, but I'd only be spinning turning for maybe 60 damage, so I'm still 3-shotting. So he gets through my Robo Substitutes pretty easily, unless I'm, 2-shotting him. And I'm not really putting up much of a threat with 60 damage a turn. And then once I run out of Robo Substitutes, I'm just going to be sending up Haluchas, so I'm still giving up knockouts. So oftentimes I think there's more value in a Fighting Stadium in the matchup. But and on top of that, Primalot was running 2 copies of Burbank City and Hypnotoxic Lasers in his list, so he was able to counter the Silent Labs anyway. But he missed some crucial cards at some points, Plasma Energies here and there, so I ended up winning the match 2-0.
Okay.
Round 6, paired with Henry Ross Clinus, who was also running VG. But as his counter stadium, he included Plasma Frigate. And at certain times in the match, he was able to recover the Plasma Frigate with Shadow Triad. So that was pretty interesting. That was a close match. I was 2-1, but I ended up winning that one.
Okay.
And then round 7, I'm paired with Evital Garbodor, and I just ID'd that so I could go grab something to eat real quick before cut.
Yeah, true.
So I ended up 6-0-1. I was the first seed. Got paired with Christian Ortiz again in top 8.
Okay.
And the game starts off decent for me. I get a decent start. A couple Fampies, but he opens T1 Archies for Empoleon, and my heart kind of sinks there.
Yeah.
I never like to see Empoleon come down. But some point I'm thinking, okay, maybe I can just 2-shot it and get around it and have a good game still. Turn 2, he proceeds to get another Empoleon out with Archies, and then I know I'm just ruined. My only hope is that he never hits a Lysander and brings up my Donphans, but in the next 2 or 3 turns, he gets a couple Lysanders to pick off 2 of my Donphans. So that ruined me. Scooped that game up in about 5 minutes. Game 2, Did not open very well. I opened with 2 Haluchas, which of course does little to nothing in the Night March matchup.
True.
And it took me about 3 turns to even get 1 Fampy down. And once I did, he just Lysandered it, and it was over. So I did not fare too well in the top 8 against Mr. Ortiz's Night March. But no complaints, though. Good tournament. Picked up some points.
True.
So,
Top 8 still solid, so congratulations, sir.
thank you.
All right. So in your list, you do play the one Dedenne, and why was that?
Well, the Dene is just, of course, an answer to Yveltal. It prevents them from going nuts with one big Yveltal with a ton of energy. I played the same deck in Maryland States last weekend, the weekend before this, and it helped me a lot against the Yveltal. There was a lot more Yveltal in Maryland as well, and I played against 3 of them, and I 2-0'd all of them. Dedenne can catch a lot of opponents off guard. This weekend, I didn't, of course, play against any Yveltal. I played against the one, but I ID'd it. But Dedenne actually came in pretty clutch for entrainment, actually, twice. Once or twice during the event. I ended up in training for 2 Fampies. So he put in a little bit of work this weekend. He wasn't a dead card by any means.
Okay. Now, the next card, of course, is Mr. Mime. Why did you decide to include that in your deck?
Mr. Mime's kind of a response to Crobats. Crobat can occasionally just set up a Crobat, attach an energy to it, and start sniping Donphan for 30, 30, 30. And with resistance to fighting, it's kind of hard for Donphan to deal with. So if you get a Mr. Mime down, that eliminates that strategy for them, unless they want to use their Golbat and Crobat abilities to pick it off. So, but it really wasn't too useful in Virginia. There weren't a whole lot of Crobat decks, and I didn't face any. So.
Okay. Now, the next next thing is the double colors energy, and you only played 1. Why was that?
Lists back in cities would play 2 or 3. More so, I think, for the Outragers. You would see more lists with 2, 3, sometimes even 4 double colors energy for the Outrage attackers like Zekrom, Reshiram. I don't include any of those on my list. In fact, I just have the Donphan line and the Haluchas. So I felt like 1 double colorless was enough just to pull off an occasional wreck. But it's not really as important as it was before, I don't think.
Now, why do you think lists have stopped dropping that, started dropping the Outragers and just play the straight, Donphan and Haluchas and stuff?
I think it's more just for consistency. I noticed a big consistency boost from the cities list. The cities list would have to, and the big thing too is you get to cut Floatstone because your Haluchas retreat for free, and your Robo substitutes, if you want to, you can just discard them from play. So you don't have to worry about retreating the Pokemon that you're spinning turn into. So, I think it's just a big consistency boost from that. You get to add some cards that weren't really fittable, or you weren't able to fit them into the list during cities. But I think it's a really good change to the list from the cities version.
Okay. Now, I know some Donphan lists are playing Teammates. Why'd you opt not to play any?
Teammates never really was too good for me in testing. I didn't extensively test it, but the games I played with it, I was never able to get it into the discard pile or even into my hand when I needed it. I know people say, oh, you could just discard it as soon as you see it and then VS Seeker every time they kill a Robo substitute or whatever, but I never really felt like it was necessary. I played a few games with it at first, but ended up cutting it for, I think, one of the Colress. It ended up becoming a Colress in the list.
Okay. Now, you do only play 1 repeat ball. Did you ever want more than that, or is 1 perfect?
Actually, yeah, in Maryland, I ran 2, and repeat ball was one of the cuts for Silent Lab in my current list. And if I could replay Virginia States, I'd probably cut the Silent Labs to go back to my second repeat ball, and I also had a 4th Fighting Stadium, which helped a lot in Maryland. I kind of wish I had it in Virginia States. The repeat ball is just so good for consistency. Turn 1, you can play a Karina to find a Fampy and repeat ball for another Fampy, which really helps you set up in the early game. And I had a couple situations in Virginia where I prized my 1 repeat ball, so I'd love to have a second one to just get the double turn 1 Fampy.
Okay.
So.
Now, you talk about replacing the Silent Lab. Is there anything else you might replace or change in the list?
Really, no. I think I was more. I think my Maryland list was actually more on point with the 4th Fighting Stadium. 4th Fighting Stadium was really crucial against Toad. I mean, there wasn't much Toad given, granted, in Virginia, but it really does help kicking out their Burbank cities, and you get to do an additional 20 damage with Halucha. That really gives you a better chance against Toad.
Sure.
And the repeat ball, I guess, I just said was so crucial that I'd like to have it back if I were to replay the list. But And not that Silent Lab was terrible. It wasn't. It wasn't as helpful as I anticipated it being. It yeah, like I said, the only time I truly used it was against Bronzong. I think I would have probably beaten both VG matchups without it.
Okay.
So
Now, how many championship points does this put you at?
I'm at 391 now. I think I'm 38th on the rankings, so got a little bit more work to do if I want to get in the top 16. But
Now,
we'll see.
how many points do you think you'll need for top 16?
Well, I think the current top 16 is like 465, and with 3 more regionals to go, lots of league challenges and nationals. Well, Lord, it's probably going to be closer to 600 to be secured for a top 16. So
Now,
it's going to be tough.
have you filled up all your states and regionals, stuff like that?
I have finishes. I have 4 finishes, but my lowest one's 15, and I have a 20 after that. So I have a lot of points available to be gotten if I do well at regionals.
Okay. And you talk about regionals. You gonna go any coming up?
I'm going to go to all 3 in the spring. Probably Ontario the first week, Kansas the second week, and then Georgia for the third week with the new set, which is going to be exciting.
Now, in the first 2 weeks, do you think? I know it's a month and a half away, stuff like that. But do you think Donphan will still be a good play for those 2 tournaments?
I do, just as long as Seismitoad doesn't blow up again. Because as we saw in Virginia, Seismitoad had little to no. I mean, there was like a couple in Top Cut, but in the field, you really weren't seeing a whole lot of Seismitoad. And if that continues to be a trend, I think Donphan's a really good play.
Okay.
And you do even have a chance against the Seismitoad decks. It's just not your best matchup, not the matchup you'd prefer to see each round.
Very true. All right. Well, do you want to give me a shout out to anybody?
Firstly, to Jimmy Pendarvis, actually, he helped me work on this Donphan list. He gave me my list for Maryland, and then I only made a couple changes for my Virginia list, so shout-outs to him for help with that. And just to my team, the Goon Squad, Jimmy Pendarvis, Nicolina Moon, Henry Ross Clunas. Love you guys, but yeah, that's about it.
Alrighty, man. Well, thanks so much for doing this, and good luck at regionals.
Thank you.
Alrighty, bye.